I'm Liyana Hassanel and this is Nightline. The top stories. Putrajaya to work on salary raise for civil servants through second Madani budget. And state elections. EC expects voter turnout to exceed 85%. Good morning. The government is working on slightly raising the salaries of civil servants through the second Madani budget that will be tabled in Parliament this October. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim said the move will be a temporary measure until a comprehensive study on the salary and retirement scheme for civil servants is completed, which is expected next year. According to Datuk Sri Anwar, it has been the government's policy to review the salary scheme for civil servants every 10 years, and this should have been done 2 years ago. However, he said the previous government did not look into the matter, and a meeting to discuss the issue was not even held.
Saya bila cek dengan JPA, saya kata, pasal apa tak ada mesyuarat lagi? Dia kata tak ada. Padahal janji kerajaan ni tiap 10 tahun ikut keupayaan kita. Kalau kita boleh naik sikit, naik. Tapi kena naik sebab harga barang, inflasi itu naik juga sikit. Ya, itu untuk pejabat awam. Jadi apa yang kita buat keputusan? Mesyuarat saya, KSN, KSP, KPPA, berpegawai, kita teliti balik.
Datuk Sri Anwar, who is also the finance minister, said this in a speech when officiating at the Geopark Discovery Centre in Langkawi on Friday. He added that the review process will take time as it involved hundreds of schemes and 1 million civil servants. In addition, he also announced that the government has agreed to provide an overseas allowance for civil servants working in Langkawi, as enjoyed by civil servants from Sabah and Sarawak working in the peninsula. As for the country's private sector workers, Datuk Sri Anwar said the government is in the final stages of its study to provide a financial allocation to help raise their wages. Meanwhile, Public Service Director General Datuk Zulkifli Mohammed said changes to the civil servant salary structure are expected to be announced as early as October. He added the Public Service Department is fine-tuning the matter based on the study for the review of the Public Service Remuneration System (SSPA), as well as feedback of respondents.
Yang amat berhormat Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, iaitu Perdana Menteri ke-10, telah bersetuju supaya kita memberikan fokus untuk melihat daripada segi struktur gaji dan allowance. Dan setiap kali apabila berlakunya kajian ini, sudah tentulah berlakunya kenaikan gaji kepada perkhidmatan awam. Jadi kita mengharapkan dalam waktu terdekat ini sehingga bulan 10 ataupun awal bulan 1 kemungkinan ada pengumuman yang akan dibuat oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Datuk Sri Perdana Menteri.
He was met at a media conference after chairing a meeting on the direction of the SSPA with senior government officials in Putrajaya on Friday. He also said that an interim report on part of the study would be tabled in September, which, among others, will include suggestions that could potentially benefit some 1.85 million civil servants. The Election Commission is expecting voter turnout on polling day for the 6 state elections and the Kuala Terengganu parliamentary by-election on Saturday to exceed 85%. Its chairman, Tan Sri Abdul Ghani Saleh, said the estimated percentage, if it happened, would exceed the turnout recorded in the 15th general election in November last year, which was 74.7%. Tan Sri Abdul Ghani also called on all registered voters to fulfill their responsibilities for the sake of the country and advised them not to hand over their identity cards to anyone they do not know, other than EC staff, for verification purposes. He also advised voters to follow the recommended voting times to avoid congestion at polling stations and reminded voters not to rush to polling centres early in the morning, as they are open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. He added that the preparations at all polling stations for the 6 state elections and the Kuala Terengganu by-election in terms of ballot boxes, ballot papers and other equipment were going well, and no untoward things were reported thus far. A total of 9,674,456 voters are expected to cast their ballots in the 6 state elections, while 122,160 voters are eligible to vote in the Kuala Terengganu parliamentary by-election. In the meantime, the Bukit Aman Traffic Investigation and Enforcement Department has launched Op Lancar to ensure smooth traffic flow ahead of polling day for the state election in 6 states on Saturday. According to the department's Deputy Director, Datuk Muhammad Nasri Omar, the 3-day operation until Sunday is conducted to ensure smooth and controlled traffic flow for those returning to their hometowns to vote and travelling back to the federal capital. He said through the operation, 3,000 traffic officers and personnel would be deployed to hotspot areas, including highways, federal roads, and state roads in Terengganu, Kelantan, Kedah, Pulau Pinang, Selangor, and Negeri Sembilan. He added that there will be traffic police personnel manning highway exits and intersections to ensure a smooth flow of traffic, as some 1.9 million vehicles are expected on the North-South Expressway, as well as 150,000 vehicles on the East Coast Expressway. Datuk Muhammad Nasri also advised road users to adhere to traffic rules at all times and the instructions of on-duty traffic police personnel. Meanwhile, rain is forecast in 1 or 2 places in Pulau Pinang, Negeri Sembilan and Selangor in the morning of polling day for the 6 state polls and the Kuala Terengganu by-election on Saturday, while thunderstorms are predicted in the evening. According to the Malaysian Meteorological Department, Met Malaysia, many coastal areas of Kedah are also expected to experience the same weather conditions, while Terengganu is predicted to have cloudy skies and good weather is forecast in Kelantan. Met Malaysia forecasts rain and thunderstorms in 1 or 2 areas of Negeri Sembilan, namely in Jelebu, Tampin, Jempol, Seremban, Kuala Pilah and Port Dickson. Thunderstorms are also expected to occur in the afternoon in 1 or 2 places in Pulau Pinang, Kedah and several districts in Terengganu. In Selangor, several areas are expected to experience thunderstorms in the morning, including in the districts of Sabah Bernam, Kuala Selangor and Sepang. As for Kedah, Met Malaysia forecasts rain and thunderstorms expected to occur in the morning and evening in several areas in Kubang Pasu, Pokok Sena and Kuala Muda. Meanwhile, in Kelantan, the weather is predicted to be fine in the morning in all districts, but thunderstorms are expected in the afternoon. The temperature on Saturday is expected to be around 23 to 34 degrees Celsius. Malaysia intends to enhance its diplomatic engagement with China to ensure that the 2 countries become a strong strategic partnership in the future. In making the statement, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim also described China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi's 2-day official visit to Malaysia as significant because it reflected the strong bond between the 2 nations. Datuk Seri Anwar, who received a courtesy call from Wang at a hotel in Georgetown, Pulau Pinang on Friday, said they also discussed various aspects of cooperation and collaboration during the meeting.
We, of course, discussed mainly issue of trade and investments. I thank him for facilitating some of the major Chinese investments into this country, Rongshan, Geely, and many involved in data centers and development in this country.
Datuk Seri Anwar added that the discussion also touched on education, as Malaysia is host to about 60,000 Chinese students, and China also intends to increase the number of Malaysian students in the country. Both leaders also spoke about further cooperation in research and acknowledged the potential for further academic exchanges that could contribute to the growth and development of both countries. The talks also focused on regional matters, such as an ASEAN mechanism in order to address pressing issues in the South China Sea. China has remained Malaysia's largest trading partner since 2009, with a trade volume of $110.6 billion or 488 billion ringgit recorded last year. In terms of investment, China was the largest foreign direct investor in Malaysia last year, with investments amounting to $12.5 billion or 55.16 billion ringgit. Companies in China and Singapore have committed to invest a total of 5.2 billion ringgit in Malaysia's digital economy. In his social media post late Friday, Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fadzil said 5 companies in China planned to invest 3 billion ringgit, which would result in 579 jobs being created. 5 other companies in Singapore had committed to invest 2.2 billion ringgit, expected to create 414 job opportunities. Fahmi said his ministry had managed to attract 28.4 billion ringgit worth of investments in the first half of 2023, an increase of 279% over investments in the same period last year.
This week on Money Matters, we'll talk about how much you earn or how much you spend, who actually qualifies for government's financial assistance, how to target subsidies accordingly. On Money Matters this week, Professor Tan Sri Dr. Nur Azlan Ghazali speaks about income classification this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3 and live HD stream on Tonton.
Every young woman deserves the opportunity to achieve her dreams and a bright career path. Therefore, with an aim to provide better career opportunities in the beauty and creative industry to women aged 18 to 30 in Selangor and the Klang Valley, an initiative known as the Kaja Kerja was reintroduced. Nurin Razmin has the details.
Ranked 103rd out of 140 countries in the 2022 Global Gender Gap Index, there was an urgent need for Malaysia to move beyond symbolic acts of celebration towards meaningful, impactful and sustainable support for women. The gender gap continues to widen, with the labour force participation rate for women recording only 56.2% compared to 82.9% for men. However, progress over the last few decades have shown that although women now outnumber men at all levels of education and demonstrate higher educational attainment, it has yet to translate into higher labour force participation rates or equal pay, as statistics from the World Economic Forum show Malaysian women on average make 20% less than Malaysian men in the workforce. These facts have driven a non-governmental organisation, Women Girls, to reintroduce the Kaja Kerja program. It will see participants to be given opportunities to learn from mentors and leading figures in the makeup, fashion and beauty industry.
The aim of this program is basically to help support these young women who may not have a formal education with regards to these industries, that the beauty industry is $1 billion industry. So we don't want our young women here in Malaysia to miss that opportunity to be a part of such a money-making industry.
The program compromises of 3 essential phases, namely recruitment, orientation and apprenticeship. The participants are expected to benefit from the training tailored to the latest demands and trends in the beauty and creative fields to ensure job security.
You know, like getting a lot of people telling you that you cannot do it. And then how do you actually pace yourself? You know, find resources, find solutions to the problems that you're having. So, like I always tell people, every problem comes a solution.
I think with Kaja Kerja, it's a way for me to pay it forward. I would like to impart experiences and knowledge that I've gained the past decade on female entrepreneurs.
The country has one of the lowest female labour force participation rates. Dominating the fields of nursing and education, some feel limited to their capabilities to fit into a society that tells them to do so. With Malaysia needing high-skilled workers to make up 30% of the labour force by 2030, many programs have been introduced to help guide the female youths to a thriving career. Nurin Razmin for Nightline, TV3.
Death toll rises over wildfires. News from the foreign front after this breather. Singapore on Friday said it will hold a presidential election on September 1st if more than one candidate is nominated to run for the largely ceremonial post. If there is only one candidate on nomination day, however, which will be held on August 22nd, he or she will be declared president-elect. 3 prominent figures have announced an interest in the post, comprised of former politician Tharman Shanmugaratnam, former Chief Investment Officer at Sovereign Wealth Fund GIC, Ng Kok Song, and businessman George Govt. They will have to get certificates of eligibility from the Presidential Elections Committee to stand. Meanwhile, the current president, Halimah Yacob, whose term ends on September 13th, said she has chosen not to run for re-election. This year's presidential election in the diverse city-state will be open to all ethnic groups, unlike the last time in 2017, when the post was controversially reserved for those of Malay ethnicity. Outgoing Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen has unveiled a list of people expected to feature in a new cabinet, including several sons and daughters of close allies and serving ministers. Hun Sen, who has ruled Cambodia for nearly 4 decades, is in the process of handing over power to his son, Hun Manet, after the Cambodian People's Party swept an election last month. The 71-year-old nominated about 50 people for his son's cabinet, many of whom are directly related to ministers and senior officials in his administration. The rubber stamp parliament is set to approve the new Prime Minister and cabinet on August 22nd. While giving up the job of Prime Minister, Hun Sen said he will become head of the Upper House Senate, meaning he will be acting head of state when the king is away, and he will lead the ruling party. Search teams on Maui on Friday will comb through the charred ruins of Liyana, looking for more victims of the wildfire, with officials expecting the death toll of 55 to rise. According to officials, the fire in Liyana has been 80% contained but remains active. However, the blaze has reduced the historic city of Liyana to ashes, leaving the city still without power, affecting some 11,000 homes and businesses. In addition to searching for those still missing, officials were drafting a plan to put the newly homeless up in hotels and tourist rental properties.
I start to come into the wind.
Russia on Friday has launched its first mission to the moon in nearly 50 years, pitting it in a space race with India, which is also aiming to land a lunar craft this month. The launch of the Lunar 25 craft from the Vostochny Cosmodrome in the Far East at 2:10 a.m. local time was conducted without assistance from the European Space Agency. The lander is expected to reach the moon's surface on August 23rd, around the same time as an Indian craft, which was launched on July 14th. Both countries' modules are headed for the lunar South Pole, an area where no spacecraft has landed smoothly. The lunar South Pole is of particular interest to scientists who believe the permanently shadowed polar craters may contain water. sports, tennis, the 2023 Canadian Open. Carlos Alcaraz had to fight back from a final set slide to beat 15th seed Hubert Hurkacz to move into the quarterfinals. Alcaraz surrendered the opening set, losing 3-6, but the top seed bounced back to edge out the 15th-seeded Hurkacz 7-6, 7-6. The 20-year-old Spaniard next placed 12th seed Tommy Paul. Joining him was Daniel Medvedev. The second seed quickly dispatched of Lorenzo Musetti to reach the last 8, securing a 6-4, 6-4 victory in 1 hour and 33 minutes. He will next play Alex de Minaur for a place in the semi-finals. Earlier, de Minaur advanced to his first ever Masters 1000 quarter-final after a stunning upset win over world number 9 Taylor Fritz. The Australian star was too good for his American opponent, surging to a 7-6, 4-6, 6-1 victory in a back-and-forth encounter. Also through to the quarter-finals was Gael Monfils. The Frenchman defeated Australian Alexander Vukic in straight sets 6-4, 6-4 to set up a meeting against Italian Yannick Sinner. Still on tennis, the 2023 WTA Montreal Open. World number 1 Iga Świątek of Poland advanced to the quarterfinals by beating Karolina Muchova of Czechia in a match that was twice interrupted by lengthy rain delays. Świątek finished the match 6-1, 4-6, 6-4 after 2 hours and 47 minutes of play. It was the first meeting between the two opponents since this year's French Open final, which Świątek, the number 1 for 71 weeks running, won in 3 sets. The 22-year-old Pole will face American qualifier Danielle Collins in the next round. Joining her was Coco Gauff. The American, champion in Washington, D.C. last week, rolled past Wimbledon champion Marketa Vondrousova 6-3, 6-love in the third round for her 6th straight victory. Gauff wrapped up a 1 hour and 13 minutes play to set up a meeting with fellow American number 4 seeded Jessica Pegula in the next round. Turning to football, EPL side Liverpool have agreed a British record transfer fee in the region of £110 million, or about $140 million for Moses Caicedo, as the Reds look to shore up their midfield on the eve of the new season. The fee for Caicedo dwarfs Liverpool's own transfer record of $95 million, which they paid Southampton for defender Virgil van Dijk in January 2018. Should Caicedo complete the move, he will be reunited with fellow midfielder Alexis Mac Allister, the Argentinian World Cup winner who left the Seagulls for Anfield in June. Liverpool have also signed Dominic Szoboszlai from RB Leipzig this summer after the departures of Henderson and Fabinho to Saudi Arabian clubs Al Ettifaq and Al Ittihad respectively. Coming up next, taxi driver found dead. Stay with us. Nightline continues. In Sabah, a 37-year-old man was attacked with an axe by 3 men near the Menara Kinabalu in Kota Kinabalu, one of whom was identified as the ex-husband of the victim's female friend. In the 9 p.m. incident on Thursday, the victim sustained severe injuries to his face, hands, and legs. District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Muhammad Zaidi Abdullah said initial investigations revealed that the victim and his 30-year-old female friend were inside a car eating when the three attackers approached and assaulted him with an axe. The incident prompted the victim and his female friend to flee and seek refuge at the Alam Misra police station. The victim was later sent to Queen Elizabeth Hospital for further treatment, while his female friend had no injuries. The ex-husband of the victim's friend, accompanied by two other individuals, remains at large as wanted suspects in connection to the case. It was learned that the female friend had recently divorced the ex-husband and had entered a romantic relationship with the victim merely 2 weeks prior to the incident. In Kuala Terengganu, a 51-year-old man was found dead with multiple injuries at the back of his body on Thursday night. District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Abdul Rahim Maddin said the body, which was covered in blood, was found in the backseat of a taxi near a clinic in Seberang Takir. Following this, a medical officer confirmed the victim's death, establishing that he was the taxi driver, while the 29-year-old suspect was a passenger. Authorities were conducting a thorough investigation to determine the cause of the incident. The victim's body has been sent to the Sultanah Nur Zahira Hospital in Kuala Terengganu for post-mortem. The case is being investigated under the Penal Code for murder. Hundreds of hot air balloons will take to the skies from Friday above the English city of Bristol for its annual ballooning event. The 4-day Bristol International Balloon Fiesta, which has grown into Europe's largest free hot air balloon festival, sees balloonists from all over the country take part. Let's take a look as we wrap up Nightline this time around. I'm Liyana Hassanel. Thanks for watching and have a splendid weekend.